Hello everybody and welcome to the O6 setup tutorial. Um, I'm Labris and I have made this starter pack as a way to streamline the process of you setting up and getting ready to go to play O6 and also use mods to help with the general speedrunning experience. I'll just be covering how to get your game running, how to get your game running with mods. Creating mods is a totally different thing, although it is something you can do. That is already covered in a separate post in the resources channel in the Sonic 06 Discord. So yeah, let's get started. This starter pack contains everything you need, but the game. That's the key word here, but the game. There are there's a very easy legal way to get it, and it is by taking a flash drive, 8 gigs or more, plugging it into your Xbox 360, and installing the game there. Once it's on the flash drive, you can copy paste it to your computer, provided you know exactly where to look. And I'll link the Xenia dumping guide in the description, just so you have an idea of what to do to get O6 on your computer. Google is also your friend. That's the other one. So if you dump your game, you're going to want to convert it into the ISO format. And that's what GOD Game on Disk to ISO is for. I don't have the original Games on Disk package with me, but you can hit add, and then the output directory will be wherever you like, and it will create an ISO for that is identical to your Games on Disk copy. Xenia can also run Games on Disk copies, but if you want to use the mod manager at all, which is highly recommended, you're going to want to convert it into ISO first. So just keep that in mind. Once this is done, if you have a dumped copy, then test the dump out by loading it into Xenia. I'm going to briefly move over my pre-converted copy to this directory. This is what it was for me. The numbers and letters may be different for you. But now you open up the mod manager. And the mod manager will ask you to set up a few things. So it's going to have a mods directory, which I created an empty folder called mods. So you can choose that. Game executable, we'll go back to this a bit later. And an emulator executable. So mods directory, you can simply go to the Xenia starter pack folder and click mods. Emulator executable, that is also in the Xenia starter pack. and it's just called Xenia.exe. Now, as far as game executable, that is not your ISO file. You have to get it into an ISO file. That's step 1 option. Step 2 is you have to use the Sonic 06 toolkit, which I've also included in the starter pack. Wait a bit. This one takes a bit to start up. Okay, there we go. And even after it shows up, just give it a bit. It'll get there. Trust. You will only have to do this once. This is a first time thing. Okay. Now that it's open, we can go to File, and then Extract to Xbox 360 ISO. You want to extract it, this ISO file that you made, and extract it into a folder somewhere. Now, if it's working, we're going to see this thing at the bottom that says extracting, and then it'll turn back to ready. And it should extract it into a folder that's the same as the file name that was provided. This is the game executable that you want. You know, it's still going. It'll say extract, it'll ding apparently. So this default.xex is what you want. I'm going to set my game executable to a bunch of numbers and letters, default.xex. And you generally want this checkbox checked. Now you can also close the 06 toolkit since the ISO is extracted. And that's all you really need it for now. For purposes of initial setup. So now, to check if everything works, launch Sonic 06. Showed up on my other monitor. And ta-da! It works. Volume. I don't know if you saw that, but because it was full screen, but that's generally how you open it. So there are a couple key settings that you want to be able to tweak. Some of which are accessible, most of which are accessible through the mod manager quite easily. So one trap that I've seen people fall into is do not use this save data thing to switch save data files. We're going to want a empty content directory for Sonic No Credits Warp, but you may want something else for Shadow or Silver, or 100% file in order to practice. Don't use this. I'll show you a different way to do so. Full screen is preference. I like windowed. I'm a windowed guy, so I'm just going to uncheck this. DirectX 12, highly recommended. Language. The game comes with different subs, but Japanese is the only one that will give you the Japanese dub. Nothing is faster or slower than one another. And so it just changes the console language of the console that's being emulated. Pretty cool. So potential performance issues might arise during Here, let me just open the game. I hit launch Sonic 06.
Sega.
Boom, it applied the settings. So I'm gonna... This might happen to you. In the case that it does... In the case that this happens to you as soon as you press start, don't hit continue without saving, unless you just want to test some stuff out. What you want to do is close the game, and then you want to open in the same folder of the Xenia.exe is going to be this file, the config file. You can open it with any text editor. I'm just a fan of Sublime Text. And it'll look something like this. No pad works. Just fine. So you want to scroll down until you see HID, or Control F there. And you want to change this any to either SDL or X input. I think SDL is more compatible. But X input makes things work for the no credits for at least Silver any percent. It might also work for Sonic any percent as well. So if you plan to run those categories, do ask me later. I'll be glad to explain the details. But you generally want to put this on SDL. Now, if it's still not working, make sure all other controllers are unplugged. That way, the controller that you are using is forced to be the first player controller and can actually go to the main menu. So I'm going to save this. We're going to be going back to that later. And launch Sonic 06.
Sega.
You want to create save data the first time. So we're going to create some save data. And we're going to enter Sonic Story. Now, as far as this goes, this is more of a performance litmus test than anything. You will experience lag.
What's Eggman up to? I need to gather some information.
If you don't experience lag in Castletown, chances are that you will not experience lag pretty much anywhere in the game. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that Xenia is constantly compiling shaders as you progress through new areas of the game.
If you see a mark,
So you may experience some stuttering around the first playthrough or so as you just kind of go through the area. When you head back, it's not as terrible. That's natural. It's part of the process. If it doesn't stutter, congratulations, you win. So
above the head of someone.
So we're gonna progress through the story a little bit. So there are points in the game where you will be able to see some texture corruption, or you might experience a slight drop in FPS. In which case, that's what the select button is for. This fork of Xenia supports, if you do have a select button, if you're playing on GameCube controller, I'm sorry. you need the bumpers and the triggers and the right stick and the select button. Sorry to burst your bubble. But the F5 key also does just the same thing. If you press the F5 key or the select button, which I will do now, you'll see a little bit of a stutter. That's because it's clearing runtime texture caches. This is more apparent in the second section of Wave Ocean, just before Mission 12, and a couple of other places. So if you see polygons and they're freaking out everywhere, do not worry. The select button is there for you. Or F5. Either or. It only really works effectively while the corruption is on screen. So you can't really do it preemptively, which is unfortunate. But IGT pauses when this is in process. So there you go. Now that you got that set up, I'm going to outline a few performance enhancing patches just in case your copy isn't running so great. I'm going to close the emulator. In this patches, there are a couple notable patches, some of which are legal for full game runs, some of which are legal with just ILs, and most of them are not. So this first one, always have 99 lives. That is legal for ILs. You can also opt to use a modded save file that has 99 lives and will dump you at that point in the story. But that's another thing entirely. Don't worry about it if you're confused. You may submit IL runs with this patch on, but not full story. The next one is Disable Bloom. That is legal. It will definitely help your performance out, as will Disable Fog and Disable Shadows. Disable Shadows is probably the biggest one, but Fog and Bloom also tank performance as well. But there's a bunch of other stuff. It's kind of cool. Feel free to try it on your own time. As far as tweaks goes, you can also turn reflections off completely. Keep the renderer on default, or you can disable MSA entirely, if not 2x working. The camera tweaks you want to keep exactly as they are. As for the character tweaks, yes, it's 50. That is really small. So, as far as switching save data, so we created one earlier. And if you go to your starter pack folder with your Xenia executable in it, it's going to say have a content folder now. And that content folder is something like this, and then something like this, and then a folder named SonicMixSaveData.bin, and then a file named SonicMixSaveData.bin. This is your save data file. And if you are content with having one save data that you can just replace, you can just replace this file. However, there are other ways of doing so. So what I'm going to do is copy this content folder and paste it in the same place and name it something like AGM or All Gold Medals. This is going to contain the exact same thing, but I'm going to replace it with 100% save file with all the stages and all the town missions. So when I download this, link in the description. I'm going to have it replace this file. Yeah, I do want to replace it. Now, if you do nothing, it's going to load from the content folder. However, there's a setting in the config.tome that allows you to change the content root, or what folder it's looking at for the save data. Under storage, you have content root. This is normally just an empty string, but you can make it whatever you want. So we're going to make it ATM. And we're saving the file. And once we start 06 again, instead of our very fresh file, we're going to see 100% file. Boom. And if you ever want to change back, you can always say content. And you could have 3 or 4 or however many. As long as you change the config before you start the emulator, you'll be fine. So, that's going over how to change save data. Now, how do you install a mod? Good question. So, mods, there's one mod in particular that I think is very useful when it comes to practice, and that is section select. So what I'm going to do here is you can either, this is every section of a level in the game, not just every level in the game. So what you want to do is do the manual download. Or if you have the URL handler installed from the settings file, well, first you want to install this one, click URL handler, and then boom, you can click this mod manager thing. There's a lot. And it's going to say to you this. And then you hit yes. And then section select has now been installed. Woo! Hassle free. Now if you go to mods and refresh the list, boom, section select. And now all I have to do is check that mod, and then say save install content, and then launch Sonic 06. Instead of just launch Sonic 06. This is also applicable to any patches for performance or any tweaks you might need. You want to hit this button in the bottom left. And that about covers it. If you need any help setting up live split in the IGT, feel free to contact me if it's not working. It will run through menus, but not through loads or pre-rendered cutscenes. So if you are concerned, or pauses. So if you are concerned about setting up live split in IGT, hit me up. I'm Labris. You can find me in the 06 Discord server, which is also in the description below. Thank you, everybody, and happy speedrun.